It's 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome to Island Tea. It's Tuesday, October 31st. It's Halloween. And we want to welcome our new guest host, Candisie Carty. And of course, AZ's in the building.
Good morning to everybody. I must say it is a pleasure to be here. Welcome, Candisie. How are you feeling on Island Tea this morning?
Oh, should I say exceptionally well? First off, let me say good morning to the Federation. So good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis. And oh my gosh, thank you for having me. Looking forward to this experience and looking forward to working with you and Jamstead today.
Yes, it is a pleasure to have you. And of course, it's Island Tea. It's where it gets sizzling hot, and it's where we talk about current affairs. And of course, we interview persons to see what departments, what persons are doing. And so it's an opportunity, always an opportunity to speak and speak freely. I see in the news this morning, well, I don't know because I haven't seen any official article saying that there has been an appointment other than a news article circulating that there is, St. Kitts and Nevis now has a permanent mission to the United Nations, and in the person of Ghislaine Williams, I am seeing that being circulated. I have not seen government as yet publish anything official as relates to that, and so I still wait and to hear from a government official or government body as it relates to that. But that is what is being circulated in the media. It's being circulated all around. I think as early as last evening. And so I am still waiting for some official word. I'm sure many of us are still waiting for official word from the government agency to really tell us what is happening there in that regard. I know too that yesterday as we spoke, Jamaica experienced an earthquake. In fact, based on what I had seen in the reports, it was a 5.6 magnitude earthquake. They have, at that point in time, no reports as it relates to any major damage. I don't know if you had, I know you had seen that article as well. I don't know if you have any views on what happened.
You know what's interesting? When I saw it, they had, so that new, what do you call it? That new, what's the word they use?
What's that?
You said 5.6.
5.6 on, you mean on the Richter scale,
so,
magnitude?
Magnitude. That's what I was thinking. That's even new because when I got it first it's at 4.9, then it's at 5.3. But then Jamaica is so big, it's possible.
Yes.
It's possible that one part of Jamaica was any one of those. All three
very
at the same
true,
time,
very true. Because and based on the information, I'm trying to look at it because it was here in Loop News and it says
5.4, right?
It says 5.6, but
5.6, okay.
I know you had said 4.9, and Jamsa is saying that there was other stories that give.
That was the first one I saw, 4.9. Then the second one said 5.3. So that could be the final.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
So it says Prime Minister Andrew Holness is urging Jamaicans to remain calm as he disclosed that the initial damage assessment from Monday's 5.6 magnitude earthquake has been minimal. And he also gave a short video, and in the video when I watched it, it was basically saying, to be calm, to assess the buildings, to make sure that everything is safe before, because he said that usually there's aftermath and you don't know how strong the buildings are. So basically to be as safe as possible and as cautious as possible as it relates to that. I'm also seeing that the Venezuela, I think we discussed it yesterday, but that's still an issue with the Venezuela and the Guyana.
Never gonna stop.
I do know that you are Guyanese. Do you have any take on the matter? I know there are so many things as it relates to the historical background between Venezuela and Guyana. Could you share some information with us and those persons listening?
Well, from my research, I must say this is something that's been ongoing since 1897. None of us was here yet. Neither of the three of us was here yet. And in 1897, the matter was taken to an international arbitration. And it constitutes more than Venezuela wants more than 2/3 of Guyana. Guyana is 83,000 square miles. As if they take 61,600 square miles, they will only leave us basically with the town. So we'll only be left with 21,400 square miles. That's unfair. I'm wondering if they knew that there was always mineral deposits, oils, etc., etc. That's what they was always fighting for, because it's far from them. It's pretty far. And as we see, if Venezuela is so good and everything is so nice over there, why are the Venezuelans going to Guyana? So why are they trying to take Guyana from us?
And
Let us be.
There was an article, remember, Jamster, there was an article about mining and stuff like that earlier on when we discussed it. And
moving
there
troops
was
close to the border and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
they just want our stuff. Leave our stuff alone, Venezuela. Leave us alone. You can hardly manage, and I have to say this, you can hardly manage what you have over there. Why do you want all of that? What are you going to do? Run it in the ground as well? And then where are the people going to go to? They're already infiltrating Guyana and Trinidad.
Yes.
We accept them graciously. But they want out of Venezuela. It's
And I must say, with Guyana, their approach has been, based on what I've read, is that let us go to the ICJ. Let us have the matter before the court, and let the court determine. They are open for the court to determine as it relates to the land dispute. But then again, the historical background, whether or not Venezuela really acknowledges or feels as though the ICJ has jurisdiction, even though the ICJ has said that they have jurisdiction, and they have now a referendum, a national referendum to really 5 questions to really pose to the people of Venezuela to determine their way going forward. And I see that Guyana is going to have a special national assembly in order to really discuss the matter going forward as well.
And I have to give props to the Guyanese politicians for on both sides for deciding to keep one head when it comes to the Venezuela problem.
Of course, because I'm telling you, they're going to take all of us, Jam. So they're basically going to just leave us with them. As far as I'm concerned, 83,000 to go down to 21,000, that's a lot.
But as bad as we don't. There's not a lot of love lost. I mean, a lot of people here, and the Americans and the UK and stuff. But you all know if it comes down to bullets and stuff. I mean, you know that
everybody's going home to fight.
Meaning Guyana is going to get the short end of the. Not Guyana, sorry. Venezuela is going to get the short end of the stick. So
of course.
Because even if Russia is, they're ostensibly an ally of Russia, and we all know if it goes south, the UK is going to step in, the US is going to step in, and then maybe on the Venezuelan side, and the Russians will step in. And
I think Russia might be their only aid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we don't know what weapons Russia have, though.
Oh, Cuba. Cuba probably.
Yeah, Cuba. But then Cuba's for Guyana, too, because a lot of Guyanese go to Cuba to study. So you never know. Cuba may
They might
try not to be part of it.
It's really interesting matters ahead, especially as it relates to our region in that aspect. So we hope that they have a peaceful resolution
I hope so.
To the matter, because I mean, let's advocate for peace, not war.
I like to
not at all.
Yes.
I like to think we're more civilized in this part of the world compared to those people up there in Europe, because I honestly don't think this is going to reach war, our armies being arrayed against each other and all that. I honestly don't think that's going to happen.
We're hoping it doesn't, but I want to agree with you, Jamsa, but then I still think we don't know what these people are planning in the quietness. We don't know, because people make fun that, the Guyanese soldiers are doing TikToks and the Venezuelans are advancing. And I take that very seriously, because who knows what they're doing. I have family there. Guyana is always home for me. My dad's there. So I am very concerned.
Yes.
Very, very concerned.
That's very unkind.
And the fact that they are not...
No, I don't mean you. I mean like people saying that about the Guyanese soldiers.
The TikTok?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Have you seen the TikToks?
I haven't seen the TikTok.
You
what
know
the TikTok about?
The soldiers are basically doing the various dance to the various songs, like the popular songs.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the Venezuelan.
No, the Guyanese ones.
The Guyanese.
Yeah,
and then
so
the
that's
Venezuelans are sharpening bayonets.
sharpening. Yeah.
Oh, Oh, so they're saying that
Yeah.
while Guyana isn't being
Prepared
is
enough.
not preparing
The
in
Venezuela's.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
Wow, yes.
So it's a joke, but I
Mhm.
don't take it as a joke because, as I
Yes.
said, since 1897 and probably before,
Mhm.
this has been ongoing. So we
Yes.
need to sort this out. I think Venezuela should just give up. You can't manage what you have. Leave Guyana with what they have. They're doing a good job, and as Jam said, the UK and the US will come in because they're dealing with the oils now.
Yes.
So that's going to be a loss for them. So they are going to help us fight off
Yes,
Venezuela.
and usually, as I see, when it comes to international law, I mean, persons talk about the U.S., but from what I have seen in recent time, they have been, trying as much as possible to, ensure that international law is carried out.
Yeah.
And we also recognize that there is sovereign, there's national law, but there's also international law, and we know when it comes to state versus state, it is encouraged that they resolve matters peacefully and
Yes.
based on the laws of of other, like the international law is basically a body of laws that govern how operations are to function state wise as well. So
Yes.
it's all for peace, and so again I am hoping that there is a peaceful resolution. I am hoping that they're level-headed leaders in this matter, because you realize that the decision made by leaders affect people.
Yes.
And it affects livelihoods, it affects lives, and it affects the future of that nation.
Yeah.
And so I am hoping that the leaders for Guyana and Venezuela, that they come together and they come towards a peaceful resolution. In fact, it seems as though, based on what I'm seeing and the articles that I'm reading and what I'm garnering, though, it seems like Venezuela is making the decision in and of themselves and going forward based on what their people are saying. So they're bringing forward questions in a referendum. It will be interesting, very interesting to see if the people themselves support what the leaders have put forward in that referendum. And if it is that those people don't support it, then it will be very interesting to see how it is those leaders advance after that. So the referendum, there are questions to be asked by the government is asking the people whether or not they are in support of these things. And it'll be very interesting to see what the national support is for the move like this. Because if the nation, the citizens aren't for it, then I would like to see their next approach. Because if you put a referendum and persons aren't for it, then what would be your reason for carrying it further? The simple thing would be, if persons are indeed for it, then they could actually advance their agenda much easier. So let's see what is going on. It's interesting times ahead.
But funny you say that, some governments aren't for the people. And when I look at Venezuela, and this is just my opinion, I just think it's for their gain. They're not for their people, because if they are for their people, why are so many persons migrating from Venezuela daily, illegally? They're not, those who are trying to come the right way, they're getting fight back too, because people might say, oh, we have enough. So they're going to come the illegal way. So what vote will they have if so many of their population is leaving Venezuela? So I think it will be up to the greedy politicians, yes, and I will say greedy, and they might just enforce it. The army, you must listen to me. I'm in charge of you. Go ahead. Go to Guyana, cause trouble.
It's going to be very ticklish times, and I mean, we're here discussing it now today. But it's really, I'm urging persons to become more informed, because informing so that you could, it's good to form an opinion. And then you can see the development of it. Guyana, Venezuela, they're next to each other, and they're both countries here within South America, and very close to home. And when we look at the proximity of these islands from St. Kitts and Nevis, and so I am really urging the leaders. I don't know. CARICOM has, I don't think CARICOM has I think CARICOM may have made a statement. I can't recall because CARICOM has made statements on other things. I've seen a statement that relates to what is happening in Israel.
Yes.
And I think I would have read a statement by them in this issue.
Okay.
I think I would have. So, it's just let us see what is going on and let's be cautious of what could be happening in Antigua now. A well-known activist, James Tanny Rose, passes away. So, based on this article, I see condolences have been pouring in following the passing of James Tanny Rose, who was a dedicated community activist and a long-standing member of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. He was 77 years old. Reports indicate he passed away at the Sir Lester Bird Medical Center on Monday. The office of the Prime Minister, in a statement, said that it has learned of the death of James Tanny Rose, aka Voice of the Opposition and Downtrodden, and expresses condolences to his family, friends, and all those who regarded him highly for his political pronouncements. The office of the Prime Minister says Tanny Rose set out to win hearts and minds in his almost daily presentations on several radio talk shows and succeeded brilliantly by his perseverance and clarity. He was considered dangerous by those whom he opposed and loved by 1,000 others for the same reason. He could think and could speak, and he was relentless in his ambition. End of quote. And so there is also, and it says here, because it's a bit of a long quote, I want to say that it says that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party says it's internally grateful for the tremendous legacy that James Tanny Rose has bestowed upon them, and that his unwavering dedication and tireless efforts in advancing the nation's progress will forever be remembered.
Condolences to his family.
Condolences to his family as well. Very, even though I would not have known of him based on the article that I am reading, it's clear that he would have made an impact, and he was really, a radio talk host, and so he could, relate to, being on the radio as well, and speaking on issues. So condolences to the family, and well wishers of Mr. Rose. It says that the Anguilla conducts island-wide frogging to eradicate mosquitoes. Yes, so I know that we have our schedule as well. I see that circulated, but it's I've
not seen a fog in a minute. Have you?
I have not seen it in a minute for real as well, but I have seen the schedule that is being circulated for the fogging. And it's here we see Anguilla also in the situation where they are doing the same island-wide fogging. And again, the mosquitoes, it has been said that, that the dengue fever is back again. And so we are urging persons to do what they can to protect themselves.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, from, contracting, that disease. Of course, still water and, still water, attracts these mosquitoes. So as much as possible, try to make sure that you remain safe. You do whatever is necessary to try to prevent this from occurring. Here it has a statement here. Jamaica explains why it did not vote at the UN emergency session on the Gaza. So the Jamaican government says the situation in the Middle East demands a unified global voice against human rights violations, as it sought to explain the concerns raised by those who feel that Jamaica not having a vote at the 10th UN Emergency Special Session last Friday suggests a shift in our stance on the international human rights. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade for Jamaica, Minister Smith said in a statement late Sunday night that she wanted to reassure Jamaicans that this was not the case. It says that Jamaica did not vote as the United Nations General Assembly last Friday approved a non-binding resolution calling for a humanitarian truce in Gaza, leading to a session of hostility between Israel and Gaza's Hamas rulers. So it says that the 12 Caribbean community countries voted in favor of resolution. The 93-member world body adopted the resolution by a vote of
193.
Well, I'm seeing 120 to 14 with 45 abstentions after rejecting a Canadian amendment backed by the United States. So, persons are speaking out and persons are showing their support. And it says that, 12 CARICOM states support the humanitarian truce in Gaza at UN.
Haiti was absent. I noticed Ukraine was absent too. Do you think it's because they have their own issues going on and they feel that they're not getting the support that they should have gotten? Is it that's why they're just like, because I was surprised that Russia actually voted. I was like, what? But Ukraine abstained and Haiti abstained.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And it could be that because they're facing what is
their own issues.
Yeah, their own issues. If you look at Ukraine and you look at Haiti, I mean, Haiti persons here have called in on the show and have, and persons even around the region have asked, for assistance to Haiti. And so Haiti in and of itself is facing so many difficulties. And so that is very interesting observation, that Haiti and Ukraine did not participate.
Nope.
Wow.
They're like, we got our own issues.
Yeah.
We really don't have time for this. But I also saw a quote, I think it was on Twitter, from the Honorable Kamina J. Smith, and she said, regrettably, consultation were on the way with Kingston, which did not conclude in time for the close of the vote. And I find sometimes these things affect us because we know if a big war happening up there, then let's say our wheat products, we don't get them as much. You go to the supermarket, the shelves are bare. These things do affect us, even tourism. We see COVID-19 happen. We were stuck here. A lot of us in the tourism industry, I myself lost my job because of COVID-19. Who are we going to move? Where are we moving them to when all the borders are closed? So these things, when they begin, they don't affect us, but eventually we feel the brunt of it. And I always wonder why.
I think this is a good time, Cartencia. It's 8:25. I think it's a good time to christen her on the phones.
She has the calls, yes.
Thank you, Jamster. Thank you so much.
Island Tea.
Thank you.
Island Tea, you're on the air.
Good morning.
Yeah, good. Oh, perfect. Hey, perfect christening.
Go
ahead.
I take your word for it. The Guyana situation, the Guyana-Venezuela situation, Azard, I think you're engaging in some wishful thinking if you feel that the leaders are going to do the wise thing. Don't think we have too many of those kind of leaders around anymore. Okay? Even when public opinion is clear, it seems like the leaders themselves seem to be going a different direction. It brings me back to a poll done in Britain, for instance, on whether or not there should be a ceasefire in Gaza, and 76% of those 76% of those polled basically said yes, because they see the butchery that's going on there right now, the savagery, and don't want any part of it. But yet their government is going in the other direction, which is instructive. You think in a democracy, they're kind of trying to reflect the wishes of the people, but apparently it doesn't work that way anymore. And in the case of Venezuela and Guyana, this is another result of past colonialism by the British, okay? Because essentially, I think what Venezuela is claiming is that it goes all the way back to 18-something, when the Essequibo River was the natural border. And the British is the one who, just like they did in Belize with Guatemala, just like they did in terms of creating Israel in Palestine, and even in our own situation here, because we could have been still St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, but they intervened and basically put down their foot and decide what our borders, what the borders of countries should be. Okay, and I think we'll live in that. Now, I'm not saying that we should go back to pre-colonial borders or anything like that, because it is what it is. And at some point, we have to put our foot down and say, listen, regardless of the pretext, any kind of annexation in 2023 would be a source of conflict, and so it's against international law, and so it should not happen, regardless of the history. Okay? Because, yes, everybody would have a legitimate claim because, as you know, a lot of wars have been fought over borders, over resources, and that sort of thing. Okay? But as it is now, right, I don't know if, for instance, Guyana, with the population that it has, can really develop that region into what the potential of that region is. Okay? Maybe some accommodation can be made with Venezuela to jointly develop the resources in that region, because it's probably about that, whether maybe oil is there or some other resource, okay, and still leave it as Guyanese territory. Some kind of accommodation could be made, I would think. It's always better, I think, to share the land, just like I think the solution in the Middle East is to share the land between the Palestinians and the Israelis, okay? But to arrive at a solution is hard. I guess bearing in mind the kind of leadership that we have. I mean, in my opinion, Biden has no right giving Israel carte blanche to do what it wishes in Palestine. Just look at all that destruction that's there. What's going to happen when the war, as they call it, is done? They have to start all over again. You know, and so many innocent people are dying. Okay, but the leaders, as far as they're concerned, we're doing it our way, regardless of the consequences, and so we have this mayhem, right? So, you know, it would be nice if there can be negotiations to settle that dispute once and for all, and if it involves sharing the land, so what? That's my opinion. I mean, it is not to say that people are going to be displaced or anything like that over that land as it is in the Middle East, right? It's a case of you looking at what kind of resources are there, and if I can, by my posture, get an advantage in accessing those resources. And my general opinion is that these resources can be shared between the two countries, and some accommodation can be met.
But I think you're the one being wishful in your thinking now. You really
think that would happen?
you really
I don't think they want to share.
Exactly.
No, they want it all.
So
yes, and so what do you have? What do you get then? Conflict. You prefer that then? And the thing is, you know, if you prefer that, and it comes down to a case of who has the bigger guns win, who do you think going to win?
You never know. It just might be Guyana. I have to be biased here, but it just might be Guyana because
the dancing soldiers.
You see, even he knows about the dancing soldiers. No, but as Jamster said, we have the UK on our side because in 2015 is when Venezuela came back again and reactivated its claim once the US oil giant ExxonMobil discovered crude oil deposits.
Fight For Guyana?
So yes, the US is going to fight and the UK is going to fight because they all have stakes, big stakes in Guyana too. Very big stakes.
You see how the US climbed down once they realized that they have oil interests in Venezuela. Okay? That's what it's about. That's what I'm saying. It's the resources.
But they didn't want to share. Mr. McMahon is a problem from since 1897. And it's been proven that it's something that's been going on and on, where no generation is willing to say, okay, Guyana, let's work together. Let's help each other. Let's build each other's nation. It's, I want this side. You're on my side. Give me all of that. It belongs to me. And that's what's been ongoing. And we cannot have that.
And that is the cause of war, of conflict.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if there is a better way out, why not go for it?
But they're not trying the better way. As Jamsa said, we are
nobody's trying
hoping
the
and
better
wishful
way.
thinking. We are really hoping, because I do not want war down there.
Nobody wants it, but it always ends up in that when you have two heads butting against each other and nobody is willing to compromise.
Boy,
You know?
shucks.
But it's unfortunate, but and of course CARICOM can't do nothing about it.
They're
And I
trying.
know for sure that Petition's not going down there to fight any war, or
You never know.
Jamaicans or Trinidadians or
You never know.
Asians or anybody else for that matter
Wow.
is going to go to actively
Help.
fight a war
Okay.
against Venezuela.
But
You
Venezuela.
know that's not going to happen.
But then, as I would have mentioned earlier, if the Venezuelans keep leaving, if some of their soldiers decide to run away as well, who are they going to have to fight? So they're going to just have to back off, right?
No, you're talking millions and millions of people, you know.
Okay.
They don't have people to fight. Don't worry. You know, people.
He sounds like he's on Venezuela's side. Mr. McMahon, why you
you
sound
get-
like you're back in the Venezuelans?
No, I'm not. I just want a resolution to it,
Me
which
too.
avoids war.
Yes.
That is what I would prefer. Okay?
Fair enough.
I mean, if it comes down to war, of course, I give Guyana moral support because of the links with the Caribbean and so on. Yes, and the English-speaking links and those kinds of things, right? But it isn't that, you see, and you have to be able to see both sides. That's the thing. You can't just say, well, Guyana is part of CARICOM and therefore I have to be on Guyana's side, right? You should look at the thing in totality and
Yes.
say, well, why not? Like I said, we don't have the resources right now to develop that Essequibo region. Venezuela might have. Let's come to an arrangement whereby, look, you can develop the place. It remains my territory, but you can develop the place, okay? And that would be a solution, okay? That's what I'm saying. There are ways there are compromises that can be made, but leaders are unwilling to do this, right?
Yes.
And
So
the poor people are the ones who are going to end up dying. It's always the poor people who get
Okay, Mac.
yes.
Yeah, okay then.
Yeah.
We have another segment. We have some guests here. We recognize that during the weekend there was a conference and we had a special speaker and we had the St. Kitts Nevis Trade and Labor Unions having a function on the weekend. And so we have them here with us and we're going to just break and then get back to you.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Dreaming of that perfect getaway? Hop aboard the Makana ferry to the breathtaking islands of Seba, Statia, St. Martin, and St. Kitts. Embark on a delightful journey and enjoy sun-kissed beaches, vibrant cultures, and unforgettable experiences. Visit MakanaFerryService.com to book your island hopping adventure today.
Here are your Hortsford Value Mart IGA specials.
Running October 19 to November 1st.
The more you shop, the more you save.
In October, get double points on dairy and grocery non-food items.
Now, our Value Club Blue Tag specials. Essential Everyday Dry Roasted Peanuts, $11.99. Mott's Applesauce, $3.79. Nature Valley Granola Bars, $9.99. Yoplait Yogurt, $3.99. Stone Ridge ice cream sandwiches, $19.99. Essential everyday trash bags, $11.99. And now our very low weekly
Value deals! Essential everyday ketchup, $4.99. General Mills Honey Nut Cheerios, $14.99. Essential everyday cream cheese, $7.99. Mueller's pasta, $5.99. Almond grease, almond milk, $9.99. Irish Spring soap bars, $12.99. Shop smart, shop value mart, and get the double points for more rewards today.
Continuamos en el mes de octubre con los puntos dobles y las recompensas. Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en Value Mart.
Back at you. How we do? History in the making.
So we are back, and in studio we have representatives from the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, and on Sunday there was a featured address, and persons were invited, and there was a featured address by Mr. Beckles. And so we want to welcome each of you here this morning. We want to say thanks for accepting the invitation, especially on such a short notice to be here. I want to say thank you.
I want to thank you for inviting me Win FM 98.9.
No problem. And so what I'm asking, you had the presentation on Sunday. What would have been the reason for a presentation like that?
Well, when I spoke to Sister Mills, she expressed to me that in St. Kitts and Nevis, there needs to be a revitalization of the core standards of the trade union movement. And you need to educate members as to the benefits of a movement and really start the lifting of workers again. And she expressed that there's some legislation that they've been trying to get through Parliament for a while, and there's been a second draft, and they're hoping to finalize that soon, and that the importance of me coming to speak and lifting her members, educating them and informing them of what is to come, and whoever else might be in attendance at the time. Luckily for us, it was the Honorable Prime Minister. I was able to express to him that this is something that is needed, because as much as we have societies that might flip from one political party to another, workers are always constant, right? And the only way for a society to prosper is for its workers to prosper. The reason for laws is to benefit each and every one of us. There's laws against committing crime because we care about our neighbor. There are laws against stopping us from stealing from our neighbors because we have to care about each other. And the reason for laws to benefit workers is that, once again, solidarity. We have to ensure that laws are in place to represent everyone, and that we have at least a basic minimum standard in life. And there's a minimum wage discussion going on now, and it is quite important for us to understand that not everyone might be as in a beneficial, proper situation in their life. They have struggles, be it health struggles, and we don't know what they're going through. So we must at all times try to put things in place to support our brothers and sisters. And that is why I was there to speak. I was there to express those principles, those tenets of the union, and implore on government officials and implore on the workers that they need to remain active and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that as it relates to our legislation, in fact, looking at it and being a practicing lawyer, you'd realize that there is more that could be done, especially on the behalf of the employee. I was in discussion at one point in time with a colleague, attorney from Antigua, practicing in Antigua and Barbuda, and what was indicated to me is that Antigua and Barbuda recently would have passed legislation really to codify a lot of the practices, the common practices that are expected of employee-employer relations. And so, in fact, half the times when you hear in St. Kitts and Nevis, and I have seen some employment contracts, And at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, are these really contracts? Because what they often are, to me, offers for employment with maybe a description of the job, but nothing really more than that. And so I sometimes, even as a lawyer and looking at these things when, persons come and it's really discouraging, because you see that persons are somewhat taken advantage of because, at the end of the day, they wish to have employment. So they're not going to really fight back, because at the end of the day, you want to be employed. And so once the money is flowing and everything is going well, you are hoping that everything continues to go well. But the difficulty comes in where it is that there's a dispute between the employee and the employer, and then you have to look at the legislation, and then you have to look at, cases where your contract or your employment isn't as clearly defined, and so you have to look at other means. And so I think it is really important to have discussions like these to really act on behalf of the employee and to give them, greater rights.
Indeed. And it's funny enough that you would have said that, Azard, but I want to know, and I'm going to direct this to the Labor Department, and Mr. Beckles, you can answer as well. Do you think it is best, as Azard said, most of us just want a job, so we just read the contract quick and we sign it because we're excited, money coming in. But should these contracts go to the Labor Department and to the trade unions before we sign them?
So I can't speak to the Labor Department here, but what I can say to you regionally, because I was the last General Secretary for the Caribbean Congress of Labour, so I've been in almost every Caribbean country multiple times. The purpose of the trade union is to review these things, which is why one of the benefits of being involved in a trade union. And I was told I can get spicy today because you guys are here and this is a crowd that would be a little more lenient on me. But people get very involved in political parties and forget that, a trade union is about workers. But workers are individuals. We all have a right to vote. We all have a right to have someone represent us. And that right does not end at the trade union movement. In Barbados, we've had a topic about trade unions being involved in politics. One of our general secretaries is a current member of parliament. But that's happened for the beginning of our trade union movement. We've had people involved in politics. What a trade union must not do, though, is it must not hold one party under different standards. So when a party wins, they must hold both parties to the same standard. And that is where I will cut my ties. Because I am a member of the current political party in Barbados. But you would think that I'm in the opposition. Because I chose so much licks right now because we are under our NAS, our National Insurance pension has just been increased. The pensionable age and the amount of contributions have been increased by 50%. And you would have to expect any trade unionist worth his salt would be in an uproar. And so am I. I've asked the important questions. Where did this come from? And I've been behind the government in my own position, trying to agitate and aggravate them at points. And that is okay. And I know it's a topic here in the Federation. And I wanted to make sure I express that workers out there need not be swayed by thinking that individuals might have a leniency on one side or the other. And I would also give a lash to any political party who might want to discourage individuals and workers from being represented by a movement. I gave the movement on Sunday some suggestions in one of the closed sessions. I gave them some suggestions. And I want that they implement them because you will see a new movement going forward. What we sometimes forget is that we have brothers and sisters. The reason for the Caribbean is not just to be your neighbor. It is to be your biggest cheerleader. It's to be your person to help you along in times of need. It is to, we grew up together. We have mothers and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles who have children from other countries. We go to school in different countries. I know Sister Mills through training in, it was in Jamaica at the time, many years ago. And that is, and she, could you imagine how young we were at the time? But that is how I know Sister Mills, and that is how she was able to reach out to me on multiple times. We have group chats where we have talk all over the region about different issues that might occur from time to time. So the purpose of coming here today is not only to encourage and promote, but make sure we stamp out some of these misconceptions. Yeah. And it is a misconception because people sometimes think that because you might have an affiliation, I can't knock on your door. I don't know what kind of politician would do that, because if you do that as a politician, you don't deserve a vote. You need to knock on everybody's door, even if you get a cursing. That is part of because we are here to represent, be it a trade unionist who's here to represent the worker, a politician who's here to represent a constituent, or you on the radio, you have your constituents. Your constituents is your listeners. So you have a moral obligation to represent all of them. No matter where you might lie on a political platform or opinion platform, because we have different opinions. But we must also allow each other to represent those opinions and do so respectfully. One last thing before I hand back over to you is there's no real fight between labor and business, or labor in the private sector in the Caribbean. You know. It is in our individual countries that I find this fight. They're bilateral meetings we have with the Caribbean Employers Confederation, between Caribbean's Congress of Labour, and one of the last ones I attended, we made some agreements, some basic standards we will not allow in the Caribbean, that we saw some trends coming from the international community, which is part of my presentation talking about globalization. And we want to ensure that those trends don't reach us. We started to see some of these trends slipping in. Trends like wanting individuals to only work for this company when we employ you, and you have to commit to them, even though it's a part-time job. A part-time job, you're not giving me sufficient funds to survive, and you want me to work only for you, so I must be committed to you, and I can't feed my family? You're either sending me to commit crime, or you sending me to suck salt. And those are the things legislation are for. Legislation is there to protect our workers from bad practices, not from making workers sleep in the backyard and instead of working at the front. They're there to ensure that our workers have a basic level of protection, and that no employer can take advantage. There are a lot of good employers out there, no? I'm sure we know many of them, but we have to ensure that the bad actors do not represent the good ones. And the same things for the trade unionists. We need to make sure that the good trade unionists are pushed ahead and pushed up, and the bad ones are left at the wayside. So we must always encourage more and more people to get involved in the movement, get involved and defend workers, and not be there saying, I'm not getting involved because they might be this opinion or that belief. No, you get involved. I got involved. I'm an economist by trade. Economists have no business in the trade union movement, so people thought. But I've always had a desire to represent and be my brother's keeper. Always had it. Don't know why. Mother tried her best. Don't know why. I got a bus head, what we call it in Barbados, one time for seeing a guy get in a fight and people beat him up, and I tried to push them away, and I got a bus head. I always had that disadvantage in my life, but I'm not going to stop now. The past Prime Minister of Barbados called me a rebel. You know, he didn't like the things we were doing. So I will always be a rebel, but I'll be a rebel for the workers of this country and all over the Caribbean. Thank you.
But what I want to know, I only see places like Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana, and a few other bigger countries and islands that stand up, picket for themselves. But here in St. Kitts, I don't see that. Why is it we're so afraid to go out and let the bosses know this is what we are not going to stand for, this is what we want, and we want it now?
Sometimes you don't know the fight of a union. You think because you have to see it and you have to hear it, you don't know the fight and the struggle. Not every union, I'm not going to say that they're not doing it here, because I would let the union here speak for themselves. But this is a thing that workers always want to see activity, always want to hear the union making a issue. But people realize that the pay packs are going up, their benefits and allowances are going up. They realize the laws are changing. I heard the Prime Minister, yes, and I listened to your Parliament. I heard the Parliament yesterday, the Prime Minister making an announcement that there were some nurses who were given, I think, nurse practitioner kind of situation, professional nurses in essence. You think that those things came just on the wayside without the trade union there in the background, having those discussions and ensuring that workers are represented? But you think the trade union doesn't exist because you're either not paying them, but you get their benefits, or you're not hearing them out there marching. I do accept that there is a time for marching, though. And you would think in Barbados we should be marching now, but we're not.
Okay.
There is a time for marching, and marching is supposed to be the last option. But it's also dependent on the leadership at the time. The leadership at the time might have a preference, and as I said, we might have preferences that are different. But if you have if workers out there have a difference of opinion, get involved.
But before we have about 6 minutes left, and so I want to thank you for what you have said so far. We have to realize that when it comes to trade unions, it is the dynamics in the country as well. What I have heard and what I have seen oftentimes is the perception that when it comes to the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, it is closely affiliated, part and parcel with the Labour Party, St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Before you go on, I know the invitation was extended to all parties just recently, and even getting that support, there were persons who felt as though there's no change. There was just an extension of the Labour Party. So even though there might be persons willing, there are still persons, older persons who view the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labour Union as just a simple extension of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. How do you get around that perception?
I want to thank you. Thank you, utterly thank you for that question. It is a pertinent and an important question. But this is how I would really respond to that. If we think about it, when we grow up, we are always told to create a change. Yeah. Be the change. Don't whine. Don't make issues about what the situation is. Be part of the change. I'll give you an example again in Barbados. In Barbados, the Democratic Labour Party, which is the opposition party currently, but at the time, was the party in power. They were said to have been in control of all the trade unions. I didn't get with my party and said I want to be involved in the trade union movement. I didn't care about party when I got involved in the movement. I cared about representation. And I got elected based on my care of representation. So if other parties out there think that there is an affiliation or a sisterhood or brotherhood between the labor movement and the Labour Party, change it. Get involved. Get elected. How do you change a government? You get involved. You get elected. You go there and you get your members to be part of this organization, and you become one. This is St. Kitts and Nevis, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. You are all one. There's not the Labour Party and the PAM when it comes to the Federation and St. Kitts and Nevis. There's no PLP and what other independents. This is one country. And until members out there believe that this is one country, one nation, all under God, and believe that if I want something to change, I will get involved and change it, then there will be no change. You will only have people in silos having these arguments and discussions why I'm not going to be a part of it. To anyone that does that or say that, they're taking a cop-out. They're taking the easy way out. They might as not well be involved in politics. I'm saying it harshly, but I'm saying it because I want them to change it. If you do not get involved, then we say that put up or shut up.
Yep, and you did say that a nation's strength lies in its workers.
Another question for you is that, and we've seen it, political parties, the governments change, you hand over from one political party to the next, and you have persons who are in fear of their jobs, in fear of their livelihoods, switched around. What is your impression of that? And I keep that wide, not going into any specifics, so you could give a answer however you can.
I'll say it quickly, but I'll say you're bowling your balls today. Your cricket balls, you're coming straight at my stump, and I like it. I like it. Quickly, victimization must be stamped out.
Yep.
Victimization, I say it again, victimization must be stamped out. no matter a political party, workers should be protected under any government. And I will fly back to this beautiful nation if requested by the trade union movement. I will fly back and march. No matter who party is in power, protect workers. I know there needs to be a change, and there's some workers out there who might feel, I am not working with this government, they're not my government. You must stop yourself in your tracks, and you must realize you're there to do a job. I believe in workers who work, not workers who sleep. I do not represent or support workers who do not do their jobs. But at the same time, I do not support any organization or any government who tries to dismiss workers on entering government. And if this or the previous government do it, it is wrong. They're wrong. And any movement that does not support that block, I do not support that union either. Because unions must also stand up for that. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we're pressed for time. We have just 1 minute to go. If any parting words by any members of the St. Nevis Trade and Labor Union?
Of course. Good morning to everybody. This is Precious Mills. I'm the General Secretary of the St. Nevis Trades and Labor Union. Yes, we've just concluded a very successful conference, but Azard, WINNFM will have to come back and basically dissect why we label it a successful conference in so many regards. So I want to thank you very much. Of course, the spotlight today belonged to Brother Beckles because, of course, he was our special guest speaker. And so, of course, even the part that he had a presentation on Sunday, he has so much more to say. And as you've experienced, he has shared a lot of what he has to say. And so we want to thank Brother Beckles for coming and making the impact that he has. And I can just say to workers, just be on the lookout for the St. Nevis Trades and Labor Union. Be on board with us and let us all protect the common interest of all workers.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. We're going to get ready for the next segment, our weekly dose.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Listens to
Win FM 98.9.
Win FM 98.9.
And now it's time for a dose of medicine from Dr. Natalie Osborne. It's time for Weekly Dose. 9:01.
welcome to this Tuesday morning. We're here on Weekly Dose with myself, Dr. Natalie Osborne.
She is so hyped and ready this morning. She has an extra dose of excitement.
Yeah, extra dose. Yes. I am by nature an energetic person. Everything and everything I do, I give it my all. So, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I want to introduce you to our guest host this morning. Her name is called Candisie. She has been the host for Good Morning SKN, and she is joining us here this morning. She'll be for 3 days of the week. And we had Michelina Mills, who was our guest host yesterday and Friday as well. And so we're going to be doing a little bit of, balancing. So we have a new and fresh blood here on Island Tea. Yes. So
welcome, a pleasure.
Thank you.
So I know that we have had for the month of October, we've spoken about breast cancer awareness.
Yes.
And today we have a different topic.
Wow.
Yes.
It's about the complications of diabetes. And so I'm going to ask you, doctor, and we're going to take it serious this morning. We're going to take it down.
Not too serious. We're supposed to have fun and educate while having fun. We don't want anybody to be nervous.
I like that. And so I'm going to implore that we all have fun while we educate ourselves. Yes. And so I'm going to ask you the question. What is a diabetic complication?
So you may wonder, why am I discussing diabetes? Because I'm a general surgeon, but it's a very pivotal in our practice, because a lot of the complications, although it's a quote-unquote medical disease, and usually our internists handle the primary care of the diabetes, lots of my patients who come needing surgery for different things, and complications as a result of diabetes can lead them to have certain surgical procedures. So it's very important, because almost every other person that comes in to see me have some kind of past medical history, and especially in our society, commonly a diabetes and hypertension, and it affects our surgical management and surgical care. It is said that in the world, at least 10% of the world's population has diabetes mellitus. So it is a topic that we're going to always be confronted with. So you ask the question, Azard, what is a diabetic complication? So we break it down. Complication, what is a complication? It's like a secondary disease or something that comes as a result of something. Like one disease leads to another. And so when we have diabetes, we add that. As a result of diabetes, you have a complication. So there are many complications. So we start with diabetes, and as it affects the body in different ways, then you can have these secondary, or you can have these complications.
Dr. Osborne, did you know I was going to be on the show this morning?
No, I did not.
Because I'm a type 1 diabetic. So it's funny enough that this is about diabetes today. So I'm like, did you know it's going to be on?
No.
So you talk about the diabetic complication. So let's talk about the acute complication.
Okay, so excellent question. Diabetes can be divided into, classified into acute complications or chronic complications. When we hear the word acute, we're talking about something that happened in a short space of time, in days, in hours, depending on what the disease is. When it comes to diabetes, we're talking about a condition that happens in a short space of time. All right, and a chronic disease is something that happens weeks, months over time. So diabetes can have the acute complications, and they can have complications that become chronic as well too. So diabetes complications that are acute are most commonly seen. Hypoglycemia. You would have heard this term. It may sound big, but don't be intimidated. It means that your blood sugar is low, and that can lead to lots of problems. You start sweating, you get dizzy, you get weak, you faint, and we don't want to have that. And that person can go into a coma. You have another complication, and Azad, I know you love big words in medicine. It's called ketoacidosis. It's a heavy word to lift up, but it's a common complication seen in patients with diabetes, especially type 1 diabetic patients. What happens? There's no insulin there, because the pancreas, the cells that produce insulin are destroyed. So these individuals must need insulin added to their regime. So what happens? So there is no insulin at all, and the blood sugar becomes so high. The body is starved for energy. And what do they do? The body does, it breaks down fat. And it creates these, what we call ketone bodies. And what happens with these ketone bodies, they build up and they form an acid. And the person becomes very sick, lethargic, weak. They can actually succumb to this complication. It's one of the most grave complications associated with diabetes.
Wow. I know you mentioned it, but you could perhaps go in further to what ketoacidosis is.
Yes, so as we know that it's a complication of diabetes, it's one of the most feared complication. It is mostly seen in type 1 diabetic patients. These patients, they have no insulin. So any insulin that they get, it has to be injected to these patients. And if they don't have the benefit of insulin, and what is the function of insulin? Essentially, insulin helps move the glucose or the sugar that we need from the bloodstream into the cells so that it can be used for energy. And most of these cells are, you have the smooth muscle cells and you have different types of cells that use this kind of energy. If you don't have it, there's no energy produced. So then the body has to say, wow, I need to find a way to produce some energy so I could use. It breaks down fat. Lipolysis, that's another big medical word, but it's breaking down the fats. And what happens, it turns them into this thing called ketone bodies inside the liver. And you're trying to get energy because the body is always into survival mode. And when this keto acid builds up, it creates the problem that we know. And these can be really, really severe problems. A person can have severe dehydration, abdominal pain, breathing problems. And if it is not treated immediately, this person can go into a coma and deteriorate.
Wow.
That was a mouthful.
Yes, it was.
Let's cheer up. Let's cheer up, though.
I thought you said this is going to be fun. She just have me over here frightened.
No. Remember, knowledge is king. Once you have the knowledge of something, you know how to go about it. It's not really to scare you. It's to just make sure that you are aware. Lest you perish because of ignorance. And we don't want our people to perish because of ignorance.
Yes, so true. So tell us, what are the chronic complications of diabetes?
Happy that you asked, because these complications, they happen over time. Once you hear the word chronic, you know it's coming on over time. And diabetes attacks most of our vital organs. Starting from the head, you have your brain. We've had most of our patients who end up having things like stroke. It's as a result of diabetes. You have things like the eyes. These are things that can affect your kidneys. You know that yearly we're increasing in the number of patients that we have on dialysis. And this is because of the damage to the kidneys, and mostly as a result of things like diabetes and hypertension. So it can affect your heart, it can affect your eyes, and of course the dreaded complications of the skin and the limbs that we can have.
Yes, very true. And it is important for us to actually be aware of what is happening. And so I'm going to ask you now, what causes low blood sugar and what are the symptoms? So what causes low blood sugar and what are the symptoms?
So why we want our audience to know about this is very important, because patients have come in a comatose state or unresponsive state or unconscious state to the institution because their blood sugar was extremely low. These are patients of two main reasons: that diabetics, you do not have enough intake of energy, of food. You need something, okay, as a diabetics. And sometimes it's as a result of a patient who may have had too much of the diabetic medication, either by accident. Sometimes we have our elderly patients and they live by themselves. Very common in our societies that our elderlies are living by themselves. And they might have given themselves the insulin, forgotten that they had the insulin, and give themselves a second dose. And then what happens? There is a drop in the blood sugar that is significant, and these patients can have things like rapid heartbeat, blurred vision, they become dizzy, they become weak, they have headaches and shakiness, okay? And if this is not addressed immediately by giving them something, maybe a candy, some juice, this person can go on and worsen and go into a coma.
What about those that don't administer insulin to themselves? They just take the metformin?
Yes. You can have too much of your medication as well too.
Okay.
So the main reason is that you're not consuming enough or your medication. Like for example, you have a patient that is accustomed to have certain quantity of their metformin, but then this person starts eating much less, but still keeping the same dosage of the metformin because they've changed their diet, they've created a new lifestyle. And so that is why follow up with your physician is very important, because you need to adjust your medication. I've had patients who would have told me that they're diabetic or hypertensive and they've been on the same regime for the last 10, 15 years, but they haven't made any adjustments. They haven't followed up because your body is changing, things are happening, and you may have to adjust accordingly.
Why is it common that there is an eye problem associated with diabetes?
Excellent. The diabetic complications can be classified in acute or chronic, but they can also be classified in microvascular or macro. So when we speak about microvascular, I'm going to break it down, where the diabetes affect the small blood vessels, and in macro, it affects the medium size or the large blood vessels. And so what does diabetes do? It affects the eyes very much, because they're blood vessels at the back of the eye. And what happens, you get what we call a diabetic retinopathy. Anytime you hear that, you know that there are destructions to the blood vessels back there, the retina. The retina is an important structure that helps with us being able to see. And so what happens, because of the diabetes, the high blood sugar, there's damage to these blood vessels. You don't have enough blood supply going there. It becomes edematous or swollen, and there's a lot of changes that leads to blindness. You have seen that most of our patients also who are diabetics, over time, they have eye problems. We have to send them to see the eye doctor. You've also heard of things like cataract, where the lens in the eye that allow the light to pass through, it becomes blurry. That's as a result of diabetes, because 3 to 5, most of our patients are likely to have this as a result of diabetes. You would have heard of glaucoma as well, because the blood pressure in the eye builds up. Most of the time that's associated with diabetes. So those are some of the more important conditions that result in blindness as a result of long-standing diabetes.
So you talk about so many things, and I have to now ask you, because this is often what people associate the diabetes with, the kidneys. And how can diabetes affect the kidneys?
So just like the eyes, you know that there are lots of vessels in every organ, and the kidneys are very, very important organ. The kidney is supposed to filter out the waste and stuff. Okay, takes what it needs, reabsorb it, and get rid of the rest. What happens, so as it's a filter, what happens is that there's destructions to the blood vessels and damage there, so that proteins and stuff start leaking out in through the kidneys, as well as sugar, something that we call glossuria, or glucosuria, where that there's sugar inside your urine, and that is not good. That's a sign that there's damage to the kidneys, or where you see proteins, and diabetes create that. We said earlier that most of our patients who are on dialysis is as a result of chronic complication from the diabetes, so that what we call diabetic nephropathy. So it comes from the word nephrons, which is a part of the kidney. So diabetic nephropathy, destruction to the blood vessels and stuff, and the kidneys are not functioning as they should.
I realize as a diabetic, and I've spoken to others who are diabetic, that we tend to crave sugar. Why is that so, when we shouldn't be having the excess or sugar in our bodies?
That you crave sugar particularly?
Yeah, you crave sugar, literally. It's like you're supposed to be off of it, but you want it.
Okay, well, that is because probably oftentimes if your blood sugars are not managed adequately, your medication is not adjusted adequately, it is maybe a sign that you are craving the sugar because not enough sugar or glucose is getting into your cells. That's what I'm wondering, if not enough glucose getting into your cell where it is needed. But I'm not aware that most diabetics do complain that they have a desire, or is it because
ask them. Maybe they don't want to tell you because they don't want you to like.
I'm wondering what it means though. Is it because that's something that you can't have make you want it even more?
I don't think so, because there have times when I don't want anything sugary, like less and less I want cake, less and less I want the frosting or the fondant on the cake, because those are my things. So what? Sometimes I just like, I want some gummies and I shouldn't have gummies, and then my family like, no, you're not getting gummies. But it's like, you want it, you need
have that
it.
Craving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So let me ask you the question: what is diabetic nephropathy?
Neuropathy.
That's why I like Azard.
She comes in here with all these terminologies, and she just comes and floors me. Okay.
But she, diabetic neuropathy. I know probably you have a difficulty with some of these words. That's okay, but we'll break it down.
Yes.
All right. What happens? Diabetes destroy the nerves. Man, diabetes is terrible. I'm going to whisper that.
Yeah.
It destroys everything.
Everything.
So not only the blood vessels, it destroys the nerves. So this diabetic neuropathy, right? Because it destroys the small blood vessels that goes to the nerve. Because everything, even the nerves, need blood vessels to give nutrients.
Yeah.
Okay, so these blood vessels going to the nerves are destroyed. What happens? You lose sensation.
Yeah.
Then you hear that the person is unable to feel. The person could tell you that, oh man, doc, I have this cut on my foot, and you say, when did this begin? They're unaware of that because they don't even know. They can't feel. I had a patient one time, she had an entire toothpick in her foot.
And don't know. Yeah.
And don't know because of how severe. So this is where you hear the person tell you that they have this tingling sensation in the tips of their fingers, in their feet, because of the damage to the nerves. Okay, so we call that the glove and stocking sensation. They could have some numbness, pain, and stuff. And as it worsens, it is of much concern, especially to the extremities like your feet.
Yeah, because a while back, I would sometimes shake my foot thinking something's crawling, but I don't have those sensations anymore because I'm really trying to be my P's and Q's. And I'm like, but there's nothing on my foot. But
that's
you
crawling,
feel like something's crawling in your foot.
Excellent. That's a good way how you explained it.
Wow. So let me ask you the question: how can diabetes destroy the blood cells, and what are the results?
So diabetes destroy the blood cells, the blood vessels and stuff. What happens that it produces some kind of radicals. You've heard of these bad things, free radicals. So it destroys the blood vessels, and especially the fine blood vessels usually. And anytime you have injury to these fine blood vessels, nutrients do not get to the area that needs it. Every part of our body needs oxygen, needs nutrients for it to survive. And once you start having that destruction of the blood vessels, then you have difficulty. You start seeing persons coming with their toes start becoming dark and different changes. So the blood vessels can also become narrowed, blocked off, because they develop plaque and different changes over time in that, okay?
Oh.
It sounds scary.
But okay, the insulin and the metformin is supposed to help us to prevent these blood vessels. So what are we missing that the end result is that we have to come and deal with, lose a toe, lose a foot? What are we missing in the treatment that's making us still succumb to these?
I like your question, and I know that you're passionate about this, but one of the things is nothing is perfect in that, because you've got destruction or resistance of the insulin inside of the body. The beta cells, they're either destroyed or they're not functioning well. Ideally, your body is supposed to regulate the sugar in your bloodstream moment by moment, but you can't do that when you're taking insulin twice a day, because it's not a perfect system. You would have to be measuring your blood glucose level around the clock, and every you make an adjustment in that. And it's not a perfect system. We try to do it as best and as exact that science would permit. But there are going to be times, because for example, if you check your blood sugar at 10 o'clock, it may be different when you check it at 2 o'clock or at 6 o'clock. So at that point, in a person who is non-diabetic, the body would make the necessary adjustments, releasing the necessary insulin. But you're given a regime of twice a day with your insulin. So there are going to be times where the blood sugar is not correctly controlled. Okay, and that's what happened. And anytime the blood sugar is not controlled, there's a high level of sugar, and that is causing the damage over time. Okay, that is why we're going to come to how we try to prevent some of these complications and stuff later on. But it is doable, and we've had patients who've gone on to live a healthy, long life, although they have diabetes.
Wow. So let me ask you the question, how can diabetes affect the brain?
The same way. Everything comes down to the blood vessels. The brain, a beautiful organ that it is, only uses glucose for energy. So you remember we said you could break down fats and have these ketones, body and stuff. The brain doesn't use that. So the brain is in trouble if it doesn't have enough glucose. So what happens if you don't have, your brain receives too little blood, the cells can die, leading to things like stroke. Okay, so you don't want that, because the blood vessels, the same way it destroys blood vessels in your eyes, in your kidneys, in your heart, in your limbs, is the same principle. It destroys the blood vessels that lead to your brain. We've had lots of patients who have stroke, who have had stroke as a result of diabetes, because the blood vessels are destroyed, and then there's not enough oxygen going to a certain segment of the brain that creates a lot of problems. Okay, it can also lead to things like memory loss and dementia because of the long-standing diabetes.
I'm hearing ketosis. Can I suggest that all of us diabetics have to go on a ketone diet of some sort? Or I don't know, because the word is just coming up a lot. So maybe we should go on the keto diet.
The keto diet.
Yeah, should we? Maybe it might help us. Who knows?
Maybe it would, yes, because you want to make sure that you control your glucose intake and your carbohydrate intake and stuff. All right, so it will help.
Right.
And get your exercise and make sure you're clean.
But you know, Doc, when I exercise, my sugar plummets, So if I go to the gym, sometimes I tell the instructor, I'm not being lazy, I just have to stop because I feel dizzy. My sugar literally goes right down from exercising.
Wow.
And as you said, at that time, I don't have my insulin, I can't inject myself, and I'll be overdosing because I have to take it twice a day.
Yeah, Oh, but then at that point, always have like a candy bar,
have a ginger sweets,
a ginger mint, or some juice or something that you can make sure control that, because it can plummet. Remember now, you're exercising, you're burning a lot of this energy. All right.
But they want me to exercise, but then it's
they
detrimental.
Then with that exercise, once you're consistent, all right, over time, then you could decrease the amount of insulin. That's why it has to be a constant follow-up, because then your demand for insulin throughout your body is going to be less, especially once you start losing the weight.
Okay. Got you.
Let me ask you a question.
Wow.
So it says, what are some of the foot and skin problems of diabetes?
We've heard of these many times, but we do not get weary in speaking about these things, because we still having patients losing their toes, losing their limbs throughout the year because as a result of diabetic complication. We always say that diabetes and some of the complications are like the tip of the iceberg. You only see what's on the surface, but below. So because of the destruction of the blood vessels and the nerves as a result of long-term diabetes, these patients do not feel. We've heard patients and seen patients come to the institution because they have a blister, because they had worn tight shoe. You get a fancy shoe, it may have come from England, and you want to wear it because it comes from England, and it is a size too small for you, but you insist you're going to wear it because you're not giving up these nice shoes. But you do not feel throughout the day that you're having problems. A person who is not a diabetic would realize, oh, this shoes is burning me, they'll take it off or they'll shift. But the diabetic patient is not feeling. By the time they get home, they do not realize the next day the foot is swollen, there are blisters and blebs there, and then it's a major concern. And diabetics have poor healing. Why is that? Why do diabetics have poor healing? It's very important that our diabetics know, because of several things. The blood sugar that is circulating. Bacteria love sugar, so they multiply. So if a diabetic has a cut and a non-diabetic has the same cut or similar cut, the non-diabetic can go about his business and be fine, but the diabetic person needs to seek medical attention immediately immediately, because what? Once a bacteria gets inside that wound and the blood sugar is not adequately controlled, the blood sugar, the bacteria start multiplying and they're having a party inside of your bloodstream, and then the wound becomes difficult to heal. Another thing, because of diabetes, you have poor wound healing, because what? Diabetes makes the body immunocompromised or weakened. The blood cells, the white blood cells that are your fighting army, they're not as healthy as strong. So when the bacteria comes in as the enemy, it's like a warfare going on. And your body's cells supposed to go and destroy these bacteria. But if they're weakened, if your military force is weakened, they cannot fight adequately. Yeah. So that is because of the being immunocompromised. Another important factor is that the neuropathy, we say you do not feel you have a wound, you do not know that you have a wound. Okay, and because of the damage to the blood vessels. So this is what these persons develop, and they have blisters, and they have what we call a diabetic dermopathy, where there's changes in the skin is dried and cracked and darkened, okay? Mm-hmm. So these are some of the things that we have to be careful with diabetes.
If you have a family history of diabetes, I know everybody may not get it, but they normally say the elder child is prone, because my dad is a type 2 and amputee and my mom is type 1. So hence, look at me here. I didn't try my best, right? So I'm not going to blame them. I didn't try my best because I was pre, and then I ended up just being diabetic because of not trying my best. How soon should an individual check once they know it's in their family history?
An individual can check at any time, because it's simply as just getting a finger prick to check your blood sugars, just to make sure that there is no sign, because you're correct in saying that some persons can start having signs of diabetes, but they do not know. What are the common signs of diabetes, so that our audience keep them in mind?
Before you go on to the signs, maybe you could deal with the signs and the prevention at the same time, in the interest of time.
Yeah. What happens oftentimes with our patients is that the patients may start losing weight, because remember, the blood sugar is not getting into the cells where it's needed for energy.
But I find only, Doc, sorry to interrupt, I find only type 2 patients lose weight, because I never lost weight, I gained weight.
But that some persons, you mean before you were diagnosed?
When I was diagnosed, I still continue to gain weight.
No, but and
prior to, I was gaining weight.
What I speak of is when you initially, because you have no insulin, it's not there. The blood sugar is circulating in the blood stream, but it's not getting into the cells. Oftentimes, these patients present with weight loss, and they're saying, "Doc, I'm having weight loss, but I'm not doing any exercise. There's nothing I'm doing differently." So that is very common, because you need your blood sugar and glucose in your cells for energy to be stored as fat. So then what we also said, that you break down the fats to find some source of energy. So that's what happened. And then the person is telling you that they're eating a lot. Doc, although I'm eating a lot, I'm still losing weight, especially if they're not on their treatment regime. These persons would tell you, Doc, I'm peeing a lot. They start peeing a lot oftentimes. Yes. And then you have sugar in their urine. These are persons that you will present with sometimes sugar in their urine. They're losing a lot of weight, and then they say something is wrong, and they start studying. Although they're eating a lot, they're still losing the weight, and they have a lot of thirst because they're peeing out a lot of the liquids. Yeah. And so how do we prevent these in terms of diabetes? If you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, exercise is one of the most important things. You've got to be at an adequate weight. Usually type 2 diabetes is associated with obesity, especially that obesity around the abdomen. Okay, so you want to encourage your patient to exercise to lose as much weight as possible. You want to make sure that their diet is healthy, decrease the amount of fats and carbohydrates, like that sugary stuff that we love, the bread, the rice and stuff, and eat more healthy fruits and vegetables. That is very important. So with your diet changes, your exercise, and making sure that you take your medication as prescribed and adjust as necessary, and follow up with your physician once you have any side of concerns or complications. That would be my best advice. So I think, I
think you had more than just medical dose. You had whole month in one.
Indeed.
So, Doctor, thank you so much. You have given us so much information this morning, and you have with us our guest host and one who is also experiencing firsthand the complications.
I think she spoke for a lot of the listening audience, so sometimes may not get a chance to ask some of these questions. So she asked it quite adequately and eloquently for them
Thank
to.
you.
So it's awesome to have you. So welcome and thank you for
Yes.
being with us.
No
Thanks to the
problem.
audience as well for listening.
Awesome. So, you're going to be here same time, same place on our weekly dose next week, and God's willing. So, I just want to say thank you to the listeners. And as we conclude this segment, stick and stay, because in the next segment, I have some students from the CFBC College. They have elections coming up. So, I've invited them to talk on their platforms.
All right. I like that.
Hopefully,
Okay.
they're here. So, we're going to make sure that they are. And then once they are, we can get right into the
Okay,
topic.
lovely. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
Get the drive with Lucozade Energy. Buy Lucozade and enter for a chance to win the grand prize of a Toyota Hilux. Plus, win up to 500,000 instant prizes, including Fitbit watches, GoPros, earbuds, Amazon gift cards, and free Lucozade. To enter, buy one of the Lucozade Energy promo bottles and look under the cap for your code. Enter it online or send it via WhatsApp, see press, and social media for details. Buy, win, and get the drive with Lucozade Energy today. Lucozade, taste the energy.
Magnum, my brand. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, make me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum when me have in a me hand there. He are a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
So we've got student elections coming up at Bryant College, and we have some of the candidates here. They're going to be making their case. So stay tuned. It's 9:33. Island Tea continues.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
And we have the distinct pleasure of having some candidates from Bryant College. They're going to be taking part in the... Why is that funny, Azard? No, they are going to be taking part in the student elections at Bryant College. And AZ?
Yes, and so we have invited them here this morning. You know, it is all about this election season at the CFBC, and students are getting ready to cast their votes for the party of their choice. And so I have with us representatives from the two parties. There's two parties contesting this election at the CFBC. So I'm going to allow them to speak. I'm going to allow Ms. Erskine to start first with your party. I know that you are running for president of the CFBC and student body, and so I'm going to allow you to go first.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for the invitation on the show. My name is Malia Erskine, and I'll be running for the position of president under my team, Voice, Visionaries of Intelligence, Communication, and Excellence.
Awesome. And so now I'm going to invite the other team. We have the president candidate and also the vice president candidate, vice presidential and presidential candidates.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kerma Stevens, and I'm running for the BETS party, building, elevating, and transforming students. That is our party.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Takosa Henry, and I am running for the position of vice president on the BETS party.
Okay, so let me ask you the question. Why did you choose these parties? Is it that these parties were in existence before? Or is this a new party that you have formed?
Well, Voice actually started this year. It was established this year. Why I chose it? Well, I didn't choose it. It chose me.
I like that. I like that.
I just felt as if the name was very fitting for the candidates on the party. And honestly, I was just looking to bring a new outlook to the student government scene.
Okay. What about BETS? I think BETS have been there for a while, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's been around for about 3 years. It's been around for about 3 years, actually. For the past 2 years, we've been in power for sure.
Ooh.
And we are planning to continue on the third year.
So, Voice, you have work to do.
Voice, you have work to do for true. So you guys have won the election 3 years in a row?
Yes.
Okay. So what are some, let me ask the vice president, what would have been the reason for you joining this party, the vice presidential candidate?
Well, honestly, when I first came to CFBC in my first year, I noticed some of the challenges and the difficulties that some of the students may have been experiencing. And I was like, why can't we have a group that's going to promote that safe and comfortable environment for the students? So I joined the SGA for that reason. I was actually a Senate last year, and then now I am promoted on the executive vice president.
Oh,
so
awesome.
I'm just going to continue that stream.
Let me ask you, Ms. Erskine, what would have, you said that Voice chose you. So let me ask you, were you always interested in student government and student politics?
Yeah, when I first came to CFBC, when I came out of high school, I was already on student council serving as president at the Bastia High School. And I really liked the feeling of being able to represent the students and also to being able to voice their concerns to the administrative level. So when I came to college, immediately I knew that I had to get on student government. And I was associated with the team in power at that time for a great while. And then I had to, eventually, because they graduated and moved on, I decided I would create my own team.
Okay, sounds very interesting. Let me ask you, what are some of the issues that students are facing? I'm going to ask you, presidential candidate, Ms. Erskine, what are some of the issues that students are facing?
Well, first off, let me say that under my leadership, I plan to amplify the campus experience, starting with the classrooms, which are very uncomfortable on some days. And some of the ideas that I have to fix this would be to cooperate and collaborate with some of the AC companies, the students from the AC courses, and even AVIC to see what we can do to fix these the air ventilation in the classrooms, especially up at Annex where it's extremely hot and we're just in these closed up rooms. Another thing would be to promote extracurricular activities and sports. I believe that these things were in the curriculum for a reason when we were in high school, and I don't think that when we get to college, these things should be stopped.
Yeah.
So my team, Voice, we're hoping to start a sporting alumni that would be able to support the sports team that we have now, and we want to work and support different clubs that they already have on campus to provide them with the things that are necessary for their activities.
Awesome. I'm going to ask now Team Bets, and either candidate could speak on this. What are some of the issues that you have found that students have been facing?
Okay, well, starting up at the ASGS division, we Team Bets have noticed that all the other divisions are very resourceful when it comes to finding internships and job placements. And why can't the ASGS division students benefit from the same privileges? So we want to promote internship programs for students who especially want to go and further their studies in university so that they can find a job with experience that complies with their course. Another thing, as Malia Erskine touched on, we want to provide and repair proper air conditioning, especially over in the annex division, because it's not the best environment to make them feel comfortable enough to do their work. Also, liaise with the Ministry of Education to provide shuttle buses, because some of the students have problem getting to school on time, especially in the far and the east. So hopefully we can get these buses to meet at main points so that the students are able to reach on time. And of course, there's so much more that we have to offer, but I'll keep it short and sweet.
Why does it sound like when you get to college, you lose all the privileges you have in high school? There's no more sports, there's no more bus system. Am I saying these things correctly?
I mean, I would say so. I think you have the right idea, but I feel as if it's more to promote independence in the students and to give them the feel of adulthood.
Oh.
Yes.
But then we still need to exercise.
Exactly.
If we don't exercise, we are going to be out of shape. So I don't understand why we cut it off. That's why when I saw that you entered the pageant last year, I was like, oh, finally they're including, because they're basically still children.
Oh, really?
They're young
So
adults.
they're entering the pageant.
Yeah, she did it last year.
We have a contestant.
And they have a next contestant again this year.
Okay.
So I was very pleased with that, to see that they're finally including the colleges in it, because they're still young adults.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the question. If I am a voter and I am looking at choosing a team, a Voice or Bets, and you guys have promoted, your issues, why should I vote for you? Why should I vote for Team Bets? I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to let Team Voice go second.
All right. I say y'all should vote for Team Bets because we are promoting an overall better life experience of the college. Yes. We focus more on to what the students need and want, because we are here to advocate for them. We are their voice. We are their representative. So whenever we come up here, we'll always want to put the students first over anything else.
And of course, also promote for the education system, personal hygiene, all the other aspects that comes with it.
I like that.
What about Voice? Why should I vote for you?
Well, as president for the Voice team, I've had experience on the SJ for the past 2 years, which I feel will be very instrumental in my tenure for this upcoming year. And also, my team is hyper-focused on promoting activities that benefit the students and uplift student morale. Overall, we just hope to be able to hear the students, voice their concerns, and make changes in the school.
Today I'm seeing two positions, president and vice president. What are the other positions in the various parties?
Typically on the Student Government Association, there are 6 roles on the executive. There's president, vice president, general secretary, social affairs secretary, public relations officer, and business manager. The business manager is more so, the role is more so fit a treasurer, but we don't call it treasurer at college.
Oh, you guys got fancy.
Awesome. Let me ask you a question. Because it seems to me the structure somewhat like the U.S. Election. You have the vice president and the president, and they are elected. How are the other members selected after the election? So let's say, you had your vice president or your president. How are you how do you choose the other members?
Well, persons who are interested in the different positions are typically chosen or selected by the president and vice president, and later on final decisions are made by the senators, who are also a part of the Student Government Association. So they get to vote on whether or not they believe that the candidate we chose for the respective position is capable.
And how are these senators chosen? Are they elected?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So the senators would have a separate election.
Yes, they would.
You guys seem so
I know.
close. Like
So put together already.
Okay, 9:46. In case you're just joining us, we have some student candidates from Bryan College. They are taking part in student elections. I have a question for you guys. How do you intend, and each of you in turn answer the question, how do you intend to lobby let's say, the adults to get some of these things done that you want done, like AC and school bus, the work? So how do you intend to convince them to provide these amenities?
Well,
and these changes and make these changes?
Well, I believe that education is an important pillar in all societies, and our society especially. So I feel as if once I voice how important and how necessary it is to make these changes to the conditions for this school, I feel like people would empathize and would be very, very willing and ready to help and assist in any way possible, so students are able to further education in comfortable conditions.
But I wanted to, James, you asked that question before the answer. Why is it that the adults didn't see this happening? Why is it the kids have to go picket for that? And I mean, it's a necessity.
But you see, why I'll say this too is that often those persons who feel it knows it in a sense.
Yes.
So when you're in that space and environment, you're able to speak about the issues.
That's
I just
correct.
say that they don't experience it as like a first-person experience. Instead, they see it on the outside. However, they don't know exactly how it feels to act upon it as fast as we would want to act upon it.
Okay.
And I believe that's why they instituted a student government in the first place, so that these students would be able to have a representative on the administrative level to be able to make these changes.
And I think that this is important as well, because it teaches persons the importance of having differing views, how you address those differing views, and how do you put plans in place to effect change. I think that it's really good. I wish during my time we had those kind of things. This is why
I always say I need to go back to school, because that's why I tell the kids of today, take every single opportunity you get, because look at them.
Yes.
Me, sit down in my class. Nobody watching me, and nobody thinking about picketing for anything. So great jobs. Kudos to the youths of today.
Exactly. You guys have so much opportunity, so much avenues to express yourself and to make positive change, and utilize them. Don't just let them go. And I'm glad that you have a representative here who are going to utilize it. Because I remember the only time I know about class representation and so is when I reached university. And then at that point in time, at a long time. So now I'm seeing it done in the schools, even in the primary schools. And I think,
listen,
in the primary schools they
I'm
have
happy for these children. I am so happy for them.
Yes.
Which further makes the point that I always say, AZ, is that we need to bring civics back into the schools at the primary school level, because they shouldn't have to wait this long to start getting notions of having organizations for their collective benefit and all. All these things should have been incubated from the primary school level. But
primary school from preschool. I watched some preschoolers pretend that they're traveling the other day to Trinidad. They have their bags, they checked in, they had money, they bought rotis, they did everything, and I'm like, thank you, teacher, because these kids are smart. So let's teach them now.
Exactly.
So the grassroots is necessary.
And you know what? I am waiting in amazement. I'm looking to see how it would change our political landscape in the future based on activities such as this. Persons being able to be a part of student government, being a part of student policy for the early age, so they're able to reflect it, because sooner or later you guys are going to be out there in the workforce. Yes, exactly. And so this is an opportunity for us really to hone the young people and to shape St. Nevis into where we want it to be.
So when is the elections?
Elections are on the 2nd of November, which is
just now.
this Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For any students listening, you can check your school emails on Thursday, and you'll receive a link with the different candidates on it. You select the party of your desires.
Oh, so it's electronic.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like electronic voting too.
No inking up the hands.
You guys sure Putin hasn't gotten into the.
I have to ask you, any bribery? No bribery went on. Okay, just making sure. No KFC, no top up, no nothing. Okay.
we have guidelines that basically guide us in how to campaign properly and
good stuff.
without
Good.
any issues.
You see?
Yes.
So our future is bright. After all,
Very bright.
When we walk in with we stick, that have it under control, right?
Exactly.
Right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So let me ask you, because Miss Erskine, you indicated that you were part of the student government in CFBC before you chose Voice, or Voice chose you. It makes me think that, is it that because Bets, you've been in power for what, 3 years? So you worked alongside members of Bets before. Okay then. So makes me wonder, what would have been your reason to not run under the Bets umbrella,
stick with Bets.
but actually command the Voice?
Well, it's a complicated story.
Hey guys, you guys I want you guys to take 2 quick calls.
Yes.
You have some calls coming.
Yes,
in, so.
yes. Remember the question. We have a caller.
Okay, let's hope they call back. We just had 2 calls.
Okay.
Okay, caller, call back. We'll take the call. Okay, here we go. Island T, you're on air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And if you know this voice, please say yes.
Say that again.
I said, Malia, if you know this voice, please say yes.
The voice is familiar. Just give me a name. I think it sounds different over radio.
I think you have a test this week with me.
Oh, Mr. Inango.
So happy to hear you on the radio doing your thing. You sound very grown-up-ish. You know, I think you have a very, very bright future.
Right.
So wonderful. I'm just affirming you publicly as being a good student. And, you know, you are a trendsetter. So keep going full steam ahead, pun intended.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Inango.
I just want you to know, right? I just want you to know that you have the best teacher in the world.
Yes, he's very
just
supportive
so you know.
of all his students.
Nice.
Yes. Awesome. So tell us why you chose Voice and not under the Bets umbrella.
Well, it's a complicated story, as I was saying, and there is no specific reason per se. The team that I would have ran with, they all would have graduated and left me behind. And so when this new team came up, you know, there were just a couple differences in terms of who wanted to run for which position. And to avoid any confusion, you know, they made their votes, they had their discussions, and so a decision was made, and the best option for us all was for me to form a new team.
Okay, awesome. And so diplomatically put.
But would there be any opportunity in the future where the CFBC will just have one student body, where we don't have Voice, where we don't have...
well, even though we're running under the different names, you know, I believe that we all have the same vision for CFBC. So when we actually get into student government, when we actually get into office, I don't think people really see it as Bets or Voice, you know. They just see us as a student body who is really focused on improving the campuses and improving the school for a better CFBC.
Okay. And even if either party loses, is there a chance that you folks will work together at least to ensure that what you want is what you get?
I think that's very possible, because I heard them mention a few ideas that might have passed over my head when I was, you know, campaigning, and I feel like those are things that should be implemented regardless of who ends up in office.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think too that is important, because oftentimes we think about politics and teams. I don't think that it is a bad thing to have opposing views and opposing teams, because we all would have different views.
Yes.
We all can't be on the same umbrella at all times in terms of ideas and opinions. What is important that we are able to express our views respectfully, and we're able to come together and come up with the best ideas going forward collectively. Because, for example, you have bets with ideas, you have voices with ideas, and at the end of the day, they're competing to see what the school wants, and then at the end of the day, you guys come together. It's always good. Because when I think about one party, I think about communism, and I think about new voice, and I want to I want to live in a country, an environment where there's freedom of expression.
Okay,
and
understood.
Association. Yes.
So, Bets, do you think you have become communist over the past 2 years? No,
no, not
okay.
at
just teasing. Just teasing.
Yes. So, guys, let me ask Bets, because Bets have been we've been talking with voice. So let me ask Bets. Bets, what have been some of your success over the past 3 years? Because you have been in power for 3 years. So what are some of your successes?
For the past 3 years, we've been successfully bringing activities towards the school for enjoyment and to have the students be more engaged instead of just having to come to school and keep on doing the same thing over and over again. We bring some sort of enjoyment to the school life.
Okay. Henry, you like to add to that?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Has the AC problem been a problem since Bets has been in government?
I want to say that the AC problem has been an on and off problem.
Oh, okay. Very diplomatic.
Has Bets been any closer to solving the issue?
We've tried.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Well, hopefully no. If elected, now that me and Kermal are in these positions, we will implement this change, and that's for sure.
So are we gonna have picketing? Are we gonna not come to school because it's too hot and we're not dealing with this classroom? Ooh, she can't tell me. She can't tell me. I like that.
So it's very fun. It's very good. We have about 3 more minutes. This is a chance for either for both teams. Your listeners, your constituents, your students, they're out there, they could listen. Again, election is on Thursday. What do you want me to remember?
What do I want you to remember? Well, first of all, let me talk to the students for a quick second. I just want to encourage each and every one of you to vote for this election period. Every vote counts and every vote matters. It's your vote. It's your choice. Remember to vote for voice.
I like that.
Bets?
I would say that within this upcoming election, even though y'all might feel as though y'all don't want to vote, I say everyone should vote. Take this experience, take this opportunity to vote for whoever y'all feel would be the best and who would bring change. I know that Bets will bring change for sure. That's a must, and that's what we are going for. So, as students of the CFBC, vote for change and vote for Bets.
And we're not only doing this for us, but as we said, we're doing it to promote a safer and more comfortable environment for the students, because we deliver and we progress. Switch the narrative and vote for Bets.
Listen, I tell you, our future's bright.
Say that again.
We will deliver, we progress, switch the narrative, and vote for Bets.
Wow.
You don't say.
I
want to vote for both of them.
Wow. Indeed, we have some really intelligent students in here. Really intelligent, and I want to say thank you for coming.
Yeah,
thank you
so
for
much.
accepting the invitation on such short notice. I was actually finishing a class last evening, and I saw the posters, and I was like, wait, this is going on, and wait, one of my students is in this, and I know Erskine, and I'm like, wow, this has to, we have to bring it. And as early as the next day they're here, so I want to say thank you so much.
No problem at all.
Thank you for the invitation.
Anybody missing class?
No, not
okay,
at
good
all.
stuff. Okay.
Good. Also, I want to say thank you to Candisie. She is our guest host today, and she will be joining us for some sessions. And I do hope that you really enjoyed the program this morning. It was a pleasure to have you, and we will look forward to having you even more. I want to say those persons who have listened to the program this morning, I hope that you enjoyed what was put forward, and I do hope that you join us tomorrow, God's willing, same time, same place, Island Tea.
You're trying to get a tagline like this.
Make them close down.
They got us on that. They got us on that.